And then we are at our end note presentation. I know, this is kind of sad. Am I the only one that feels a little bit sad that we're at the last session? I am the only one. Feels dark. It feels like, in a single word, Johnny Bentwood sucked all of the oxygen out of the room. So, what started as a really nice, lovely, supportive thing for you, you've really tainted it. We'd like to thank you for that. But, as we go through all of these sessions, and you will all have, everyone here will have access to the on-demand sessions right away. You'll have access to those for 60 days. Everybody who's joining us just virtually, you'll have access to those sessions starting on Tuesday. You'll have access to them for 60 days. Re-listen to some of these sessions. Think about what that means. Think about what that means to your business, what that means to your industry, what that means to the evolution of where we are and where we're going. Because you are some of the smartest people that I know. I'm not just saying that because you're in the room. I say that when you're not too, by the way. But you have this great empathy and compassion. And the way you work together, the way you compete feverishly and also still support each other is special. When people come to AMEC events, they talk about that it is a special, unique environment. And they are right. And that is because of all of you. And so I want to thank you for making that possible, because that's what, when we go through these challenges, when there are different areas of opportunities, it makes it hard sometimes to navigate that. This group does an amazing job because of that spirit. And so a special thanks to you. And our end note today is Paul Spiers. And when we are talking about technology and all of these elements, he has a really important message of how are we outsourcing that creativity and making sure that as we're doing it consciously. And it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage Paul Spiers. Please, round of applause for Paul as the final strong finish for AMEC today.
Thank you. I'll just wait for my presentation to come up, hopefully. I'll start while we wait. We've had some incredible presentations over the last 2 days, looking at the state, the current state, and the future of measurement and evaluation, and the communications industry more generally. Really interesting observations around AI and the way it is dramatically changing this industry now. And I happen to have the benefit, the privilege of presenting the World AI Festival, facilitating it in Cannes every year, or for the last 3 years anyway. And what I listened to in February this year when I was facilitating it, if even a proportion of what I heard comes true, then what we experience now and the way AI is impacting this industry will pale into significance with the impact it will have in 5 years or 10 years. It'll be truly transformational, and we're just on the edge of where we need to be, want to be, and can be with AI. Still maybe not the presentation there. Would you like me to come down and find it? There we go, perfect. So, there's a famous quote attributed to St. Thomas Aquinas, the 12th century Italian priest and philosopher. And he said, "I fear the man that read a single book." And what he meant by that is, if you've read that one single book, it narrows your sense of curiosity, your expansion of your knowledge, the desire to seek information. You focus your world inward rather than outward. And I fear sometimes increasingly that we are heading that way with algorithms. With algorithms online, particularly on social media, that funnel us down into an echo channel, into chambers that we receive more and more of the same, that determine when, how, and what we see, and when we see it. And that concerns me, because what we are doing in that process is impacting on our natural sense of curiosity. So what I want to do today is, I appreciate it's the end of 2 days, and there were a lot of late nights last night, I think. So I'm going to make this a fairly light conversation. But I want to just discuss with you whether we are outsourcing our curiosity to an algorithm. A couple of reasons why I think we might be. And then a couple of ideas, small, light ideas, as to how we can individually and collectively reignite that sense of curiosity. So the first point I want to make is I'm not an anti-technologist. I'm not a Luddite. I'm not a Neanderthal man. I love technology. I've spent 35 years, my entire career, working with B2B technology brands, first in communications and reputation management and so on, and now with the new P&L Institute. And what I do with that institute is work with them to understand how we can develop more principled leadership and more purpose-led business within this rapid period of digital transformation. What concerns me, however, is how some of us are using technology, or more accurately perhaps, how it is using us. And what I want to do is to ensure that we use technology as the foundation to ignite and enhance and lift our natural sense of curiosity, rather than distort, diminish, or dilute it. So we have that wonderful sense of curiosity. And why is it important right now? Because every single person in this room who's had an idea for a new business, a new product, a new service, moved into a new market, any ideas we have had, it has all come from our curiosity in a given moment where we've decided to explore something a little deeper and a little wider. And that natural sense of curiosity is innate to us as humans, as we all know. So as we run towards AI and other technologies and quite rightly embrace those technologies and everything that they can deliver to us, we mustn't lose a piece of ourselves in that process. Because great ideas, the ideas that you've all had in this room, don't come from nowhere. They don't just materialize. They're the result of the hundreds of thousands and millions of things that come into our brains every day, every week, every month, and every year. And they sit at the back of our brains and our subconscious, and they fold together when a new opportunity or a challenge comes forth. And the more we dampen or dilute, passively or actively, our curiosity, the less we have in the back to pull out when we need it, when that opportunity or that challenge presents itself. And there's subconscious curiosity. There's a report I read recently from the University of California, San Diego, suggested that the average American consumes 34 gigabytes of information every single day, subconsciously taken in. That's over 100,000 words seen, heard, felt, read, absorbed, and processed. And then there's conscious curiosity, as I've just alluded to, that we find something that piques that natural sense of what we have. We want to investigate it more, learn more about it, and file it in our subconscious for a future moment. But when we turn first to our screens, to our laptops, to our phones, whatever it happens to be, we come across quite a powerful paradox. And that is we are increasingly awash with information, but perhaps devoid of wisdom. Because of the way those algorithms work, as we all know, we continue to receive more of the same and funneled, and our knowledge is funneled. So we start to transfer and prioritize entertainment over inspiration and information over knowledge. And when we think about how much time we spend on our laptops, phones, and tablets, if you believe some of the research in the UK, depending on which report you read, up to 3, 4, or 5 hours we spend every day on our phones alone, plus all our screen time at work. That's an inordinate amount of time to be passively accepting the information that has been distributed to you. We're swiping and wiping and staring and not caring. Taking whatever is given to us rather than actively seeking out and being curious about it. And there's a fantastic researcher, Nicholas Carr, researcher and author in this area, and he's done a lot of research around what social media is doing to our brains. It's quite literally remapping the neural circuitry in our brain, reprogramming some of our thinking, and changing even our memories. And it's fascinating and frightening in equal measure, and I would encourage you to check out Nicholas Carr and have a read. Really interesting where we are going with social media particularly. So because I'm an enthusiast for technology, I believe that we need to be utilising all that we have social media, AI, SaaS, anything else we can get our hands on from a technology perspective, to drive, not diminish, our natural sense of curiosity, to use this to underpin it, not to dilute it. And I think we need to do that now for one really critical reason, and Costa actually touched on this a little bit earlier, because we face seismic challenges in business and in society today. And we've always faced challenges, but I think when you look at the size, the scope, the complexity and the multiplicity of those challenges, they both feel bigger, and in many instances, they actually are bigger. We saw the example of the environmental crisis really beautifully demonstrated yesterday with Weather Kids. And we can think about AI itself and the automation, and talking about universal basic income, where millions of people all around the world, if we get to the point where we think we might get, millions of people all around the world will have to be paid by governments to do nothing because their jobs have been taken by AI. Now, I don't think we're going to get to that point, but even the fact that we're talking about it and as part of the public consciousness is remarkable. We have so many tremendous opportunities in front of us. Tremendous challenges in front of us. But within those seismic challenges, there are tremendous opportunities. Incredible opportunities within those challenges for better ways of living, for more productive and efficient ways of working, for better ways of building cities, smarter cities, for better ways of living ourselves and our health. But in order to discover where those opportunities are in those challenges, we need brave, courageous, audacious, huge game-changing ideas. And they are not going to come through the passive acceptance of algorithms. They are going to come by tuning in to our natural sense of curiosity and being more intentional about it, more conscious of how we use it and when we use it. That is the only way we will find those opportunities in those challenges, the things we need to change our societies for the better. I'm from New Zealand originally, and my dad was a builder. He was a very stoic Kiwi builder, never showed any emotion. But he used to come out with these cracking one-liners all the time. He's passed away now, but years and years ago when I was growing up. And when I was in my early 20s, I had my first sort of entrepreneurial business. And it wasn't going too well, and I was talking to him one day about bemoaning, really, I guess, that it wasn't working and everything else. And he just turned his head to me and said, "Well, you're not dead, so it's not over." And it was a really blunt description of where I stood, but it was true. And he had another constant saying that I think applies to our relationship with AI today. He said, you can get a machine to dig a hole more efficiently than a shovel or a spade, but you still need to know where to dig it. And I think that's the essence of our relationship with AI. Of course, we should be embracing AI. Johnny talked this morning about reducing research time from 2 weeks to 2 hours or even less. So we must embrace all of this technology, SaaS, AI, social media, whatever it requires to create more efficiency. But we must wrap our curiosity, our intuition, our own intelligence around that. Otherwise, it just becomes redundant information. If we can't, as Ola said just before lunchtime, if we can't anticipate what the right interpretation of that data is, ask it the right questions, stress test it in the right way, push it and screw it and rope it and pull it to ensure that we're getting the right answers out of that data, then it doesn't matter how efficient it is. It doesn't matter how quick it was delivered. We haven't utilised our creativity and our curiosity to get the most out of it. It just becomes quicker, redundant data. And curiosity is at the heart of every single thing we do, the relationships we have with people, our relationship with the world, the empathy we have, the connections we make are all based on curiosity. And it's the heart, as we all know, of innovation. We can draw a direct red line from curiosity to innovation. Innovation relies on critical thinking, creative thinking, analytical thinking. And all of those three things rely on curiosity. Without curiosity as the foundation, as the food, as the resource, as the sustenance, we don't ask the right questions. We aren't creative and adventurous enough in our thinking, and we aren't analytical enough. And without those key three things, those key ways of thinking, we aren't innovative enough. So if we start to lose the essence of our creativity, I believe over time we start to lose the essence of our innovation. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. You look at the World Economic Forum, Future of Jobs report for year upon year upon year, cites critical thinking, analytical thinking, creative thinking, curiosity, and their top 5 characteristics that employers require from employees. And there are a whole plethora of other reports out there that reconfirm the same thing. And there's a clear reason for that, because technology has evolved so well and to such a point that actually, if we're all honest with ourselves, most products are pretty much the same. There's a few features on either side, some of which our customers take advantage of, some of which they don't. We've all got something in our pocket that we don't maximise the technology of, our phones, to the degree that we should. So the competitive advantage for all of us in our businesses is not just the technology. It is actually, to my point earlier, what we wrap around it. The insights, the intelligence, the curiosity, the questions we ask, how we extract maximum value from that data. So the competitive advantage is the relationship that is developed between the technology and the people in your business. The technology by itself sits alongside others. The technology with your unique contribution based on your unique view of the world, your creativity, your curiosity, is where you stand above others. So the ability to determine the future of our business relies on the levels of curiosity needed to imagine it. We can't see a future or build a future for our business if we can't imagine it. And we can't imagine it without the requisite levels of technology. So I'm going to talk through a couple of examples now of ways we can, in little ways, we can ignite our curiosity every day. They're very light, they're very clear, but they're all both based on intention. And both of these ideas I apply in my business every week. I've been doing both of these for about 18 months, and they form the basis or a part of some of the workshops I do with leaders from a creative perspective. The first point may seem obvious: commit to the moment in the moment. But if we don't have intention in our lives, business and personal, we don't have anything. We can have the best gym trainer in the world, but if we don't have the intention to turn up to the gym, that's redundant. We can have the best belief in our business, but if we don't have the intention to deliver on that vision for the business, on the business plan, then it's not delivered on. So intention is an entirely underrated characteristic for us as individuals. So the first 2 exercises I do, the first is I take 2 challenges that I have in the business every week, write them down on a Monday morning, and I take 2 pockets of time during that week, 20 minutes at a time. And it could be a mix of social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, online portals, news portals, others, areas of interest, and magazines. And every post I read, and every reel I see, and every story I read in the magazine, I look back to those 2 challenges next to me and see if I can find the essence of the solution to those challenges in every single post or whatever it is that I look at. Looking with intention and reading rather than scrolling, swiping, and not caring. It's highly unlikely you will find the direct red link, problem A, solved by solution B. But what you will find, as I have found for 18 months, is little nuggets of joy, or however you want to describe it, lumps of clay that you can drag across from those things you're looking at in those 2 sections of 20 minutes and start to apply them to those 2 challenges you have in your business. And then sometimes you'll drag in from the previous week the other ideas that you've had and mash them together and form them up into that clay and build something beautiful that is a solution to that problem. And all that is being intentional about the 2 challenges you have and committing 40 minutes a week to being intentional about what you're looking at and where the relationship is. The other is something similar. It's what I call 5 and 15. So on a Friday morning, I will spend 15 minutes, a total of 15 minutes, no more, no less, scrolling through social and finding 5 things that pique my curiosity, things I don't really know about. It could be geography, history, sports, technology, whatever it happens to be. 5 things. And I write those 5 things down at the end of that 15 minutes. And then I take each of those 5 things sequentially and put them into generative AI. And I ask for the top 10 points I need to know on each of those 5 things that have piqued my curiosity. And I'll sit down on a Friday or a Saturday or Sunday and read through them. It's given me an extraordinary amount of knowledge over the last 12 months. Books that I've read, places I've been to, other things that I've investigated that have driven my curiosity further, simply because I've taken that 15 minutes once a week to be more intentional about what I'm looking at on social media, on my posts and magazines, news portals, and whatever. And just finding things it's a muscle, finding things to exercise that curiosity muscle. Anything in our bodies, mind and physical, loses its ability to exercise it regularly unless you work that muscle, and curiosity is no different. The second is something I see quite a lot when I go into businesses still, and it still surprises me, and that is to create a process for your curiosity and creativity within a business. So curiosity and creativity need the freedom to flourish, but they also need a format. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you a really clear example. I'd go into an agency or a business, and they'll have a roundtable discussion for a new product or a new campaign that maybe a brief has come in. And they'll sit around that boardroom table, 6 or 7 or 8 people, and they'll have a big brainstorm about what that new product looks like, or what the answer to that brief is. Settle on 2 or 3 ideas, get excited about those ideas, agree them, walk out the door. And what they leave behind in that room is 15, 16, 17 ideas that just because they were not right for right now does not mean they are not right ever. When perspectives change, when new people come into the agency with fresh sets of eyes on those ideas, when industries change, when markets change, whatever it happens to be, we leave behind so many ideas that we could be investigating more about in the future with a fresh set of eyes, simply because we don't curate them and have a formula and a format for them. The third, again, comes from a big workshop I do on building cultures of curiosity. There are only 2 points I just want to extract very quickly out of this for you. The first is that you can never build, in my view at least, a culture of curiosity if it's not modelled by leadership. If leadership doesn't have that self-awareness to recognise that they have to be the curious leader before there is the curious culture, that they have to create space for people to be able to be curious, to be creative, to express themselves, that leader has to listen first and speak second, but also ask those analytical questions and demonstrate day in, day out that they have a level of curiosity that people in that business want to emulate. We can't build a culture without a leader that role models that curiosity. And the second, and I think this is really critical, and it probably touches on the panel discussion we've just had. We are about to have, or are entering into, 5 generations in business at scale, from boomers to alpha. That is an extraordinary amount of creativity, wisdom, knowledge, inspiration, aspiration, intrigue, curiosity, and so on. But we sit too often in businesses in informal generational silos. And I'm a firm believer, and I'm doing some research on this at the moment, a firm believer that the businesses that break those generational silos and bring these people together into one, but critically in a non-hierarchical environment, is not an opportunity for people my age in their mid-50s to espouse the last 35 years of their business wisdom to the younger generations. It is a non-hierarchical environment where people of all generations can come together to understand the creativity that they can both bring, to learn more about each other, to be curious about each other, to understand what they all bring to the party. And I firmly believe, as I say, that company that finds a way to coherently, consistently, and creatively bring those intergenerational silos, break those intergenerational silos, and bring those generations together, will have an enormous competitive advantage over any other business, just purely by volume of curiosity, creativity, relationship development, and knowledge. And I call it turning on the intergenerational knowledge tap, how we do that in our business. This is a point I've thought a lot about including in, whether I should or I shouldn't, but I think it's a really important point to take away. And in fact, Johnny from Golden touched on this earlier on today as well. There are 2 points to any project, 2 parts to any project. One is the outcome, the other is the process. And as Johnny mentioned today, we can use AI, and we should use AI, to dramatically shorten the route to the result from weeks to hours, sometimes minutes. That research, that data crunching, doing the heavy lifting, AI doing what it needs to do to give us more time. But what we mustn't do is remove our own responsibility from the process, because the outcome is only the outcome. There's only one outcome. And if you just want a more efficient outcome, then wonderful. But what's the benefit of a more official or more efficient outcome? Nothing within itself. So we mustn't remove the responsibility of us and our intrigue and our curiosity and our intuition and our questioning and our testing in that process. Because it is not a linear process. We are not only asking and answering the questions for that particular project. You are taking in a wealth of threads and information that again feed into the back of your brain for the next project or the project after that. We are not just focusing on that project. And in asking those questions and being curious and trying to understand how we get to the answer of this project, we invigorate our brains and our minds and our abilities with the answers to many more in the future. So by all means, we should lift AI and utilize it and get it to do the heavy lifting. But we should not remove our own responsibility in the process. So I've got a final thought. The reason AI exists is because of incredible amounts of curiosity from thousands of people over decades. That's how we've built AI. Thousands and thousands of people all over the world being incredibly curious about what we could achieve with artificial intelligence and utilizing their critical thinking, their analytical thinking and their creative thinking to build AI, to create this innovation. So it would be bitterly ironic, or AI-ironic as I've called it. Quite proud of that when I came up with it. It'd be bitterly ironic if the one thing that is the result of all of this curiosity, decades of curiosity, is then utilized to dilute our curiosity, simply because we haven't recognized that we need to change our relationship with technology in order to engage with it, that we need to be more intentional about the way we use it, that we need to be more conscious and motivated to drive that technology and bring it together, that we are no longer just the master of that technology and that we have a passive engagement with it, but that it is a peer, it is working in synergy with us. And that balance has changed. So we need to recognize that that curiosity that built that AI doesn't need to dilute it as long as we have that intention. So I think this evolution of technology, AI, requires a revolution of consciousness in ourselves. The desire to take on the responsibility to recognize that our relationship with technology has changed. It can deliver us so much. But as long as we are intentional and we are conscious of the change and what we now need to do. I'm going to finish with this, and I love this quote. I'm a huge music fan. My favorite band is The Doors. But I also used to love Frank Zappa many years ago. He was, for anyone who doesn't know him, 60s and 70s musician in the States. And he was an experimental guitarist, incredibly experimental musician. And I was watching an interview with him once, and he was renowned for very rarely playing the same guitar solo twice. So we all know when we listen to rock music, whatever it is, pretty much it's the same guitar solo in the middle of that song every time. He never did that. He always experimented every single time. And the interviewee asked him why he did that. And he said, well, it's a game. It's a piece of time, and you get to decorate it. And I thought that that was a wonderful metaphor for life. We have a piece of time, and we get to decorate it. So as we get to the end of the conference, my clarion call to everyone here as we leave the conference, my call to action, my offer, my proposition to you is that we all have a piece of time in our lives, in our businesses, and in our approach to innovation. Are we going to use curiosity to decorate it or allow an algorithm to decorate it for us? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. I think that is the perfect round out to what has been a spectacular 2.5 days. We have time for one question for Paul. going, I will take it if we don't get it perfect.
It's either really good news or bad.
No, I think the whole mission around this, as you and I talked through this, was, we talk about technology, we talk about everything moving so much faster and all of those elements, and it really is critical to find solution to be present.
Yes.
And that's why I think going in with that intention, I love the examples of you spending that extra time. We have a lot of leaders, a lot of developers in this room who are so committed to moving things forward and to making things better. And that includes, their own coaching. They work with personal coaches.
Yes.
And so it's these reminders that help keep us tethered to why we're doing what we're doing. It's that human factor. They aren't just problems, they're human problems that we're solving because of our care and concern for everyone else in society. And so thank you so much for bringing that all together for us at a time where, we are, lured and, we get excited about the new shiny thing, but it's what's here. And it's what's here that's really making a difference. And that's why we have so much passion. So please join me again for a special round of applause.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Cheers.